Just for all. Thank you. No. Are there any changes to the agenda? Have an approval of the agenda this evening.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The public participation policy applies to all selectmen meetings. A copy of it is in the back of each agenda posted in this meeting room and on our website. Public input for 3 minutes per person for the agenda items only. Anyone would like to speak? Come on up and sit down and introduce yourself.
Good evening. Sorry, I haven't spoken, so I don't know the rules. 3 minutes.
Please state your name. What's your name?
Abigail Butler. I'm here about the first item on the new business agenda.
Mhm.
I'm here to oppose the name change of Butler Drive to Cragen Road. I wanted to say that it's hard to believe, but it's been almost 100 years since my grandparents, Ruth and Rob Butler, bought their little house, which is still standing in original condition. It's now 37 Butler Drive. At the time, Alton was not so fortunate to have urgent care right down the road. And my grandfather, who was a doctor, was an emergency medical resource for the community. As such, he was well known and respected throughout here. And they've been gone for decades, but we feel that it would be unfortunate to diminish their memory. That said, also modern reasons, right? Almost everyone who comes uses a electronic mapping program to reach our houses. And it can take years for those to be updated. And so that means whether it's visitors, caregivers, service providers, or the all important Amazon Prime delivery trucks, where drivers change constantly, there's no way for them to find Butler Drive, which would be marooned at that point. I happen to know that it's almost impossible to get those changes updated because my winter home has an error in Google Maps. And for 5 years, we have been sending emails, sending in reports, asking for changes. And it remains an issue that every Uber, every Lyft, every new driver puts things at other places or just turns around and leaves and says it's non-deliverable. So we really feel that there's no need to burden this group with that potentially unlimited hassle in addition to the naming.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Come up and state your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Samard, and we have owned the property at 62 Butler for about 12 years. I in no way can be as articulate as the former speaker, Miss Abigail Butler, but I would say that we also oppose the idea of changing the name of the road. And it is for similar reasons. We believe that it would cause some undue burden on us, making it more difficult for people to find us, friends, family, service people who, deliver goods and so forth. And we can identify no compelling reason for initiating such a change in the street name. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jim Forty from 104 Reddit Road on Sunset Lake, and I don't know whether you'll allow me to speak to the Sunset Lake Dam issue yet, but we have concerns, a bunch of people here from the lake, and the information we're getting is that our lake will be at winter level all next year, and we have concerns. I've written questions that need answers, and maybe we'll get them from this meeting tonight or the August 2nd virtual meeting that's planned by DES. But we would like you to at least look at these questions and make sure that some of these get addressed because there is impact that I'm not sure that everybody's looking at. We don't know how bad the dam is, but we have to understand why the dam has to be done over a period of a year instead of in phases. What are the options, whether a cofferdam goes in before it? And if not, what happens with vegetation? What happens with our loon population, fish population? For the most part, the area in front of several of us for Levitt Road is a pile of rocks. That's 3 feet of water right now. So when you go over the lake, we have no access to water. And that means no boats.
Mhm.
And it's quite a burden. And then the question is, what happens with a Hills Pond, which is held back by a beaver dam into ours, which if there's no water, the beaver dam's not going to stay up. That's going to empty Hills Pond as well. So if I could leave these questions with you, that would be great. And then you could maybe get answers for us.
Yeah, you can hand it right to the administrator.
Thank
if you'd
you.
like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, what I think it'd be best is, after we hear the appointment from the state, is to forward these questions directly to the state.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because
I agree.
my understanding is this isn't our, this is
No,
just an
and-
informational session.
This is
from the state.
informational.
Yeah,
This is
and
informational.
just to clarify, I know I spoke to some of you in the hallway and some of you spoke to our, my administrative assistant, Stacy. So coming up next on the agenda for the benefit of the majority of the people that are in the audience between two different issues is that, tonight's appointment with New Hampshire DES was an informational. It got construed as maybe a public hearing, and that's not the case with this. This is a state project, not a town project. The state is advising us of what their plans are, but there is going to be a meeting with the state where there's going to be interaction between the residents, the direct questions, and what the state is going to answer, for those, what they have for answers for those questions and things like that. Not that the town doesn't want to be involved in it, but I think things get miscommunicated when you have a middleman, even if it's the town passing information between residents and a state project, where it's better for them to converse directly with one another.
Right.
So,
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, and we'll close the public input. And we'll go right to appointments with Jonathan Finden Henry, New Hampshire DES Sunset Lake Dam. Come on up.
Come on up, gentlemen.
The joys of going first. So yeah, to introduce myself and my partner, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
So yeah, my name is Johnny Finden Henry. I am the design engineer and project manager for the Sunset Lake Dam reconstruction project. Charlie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Charlie Crowman. I'm the chief of the engineering and construction section for the Dam Bureau at DES.
you guys just want to pull your mics a little closer to you. Anyway, we can hear you fine, but I
They
know
may
the
not be
people
able to hear
behind
you
you may
back
not be
there.
able
Can
to.
you hear them? Okay, back there?
Okay.
So today we just really wanted to come and just introduce ourselves and just let the select board know that the project is happening. We are having a virtual informational session on August 2nd, which is Wednesday next week. That is at 6 p.m.
Mhm.
And I have my business cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave my business cards here. And whoever wants to be involved in that informational session, they can grab a business card and I can send an invite. That will be held on Teams. And, if anybody is not able to make that session and they do have questions, you can call my phone number or send an email also.
Okay.
And, I know that you have a list of questions. I don't know if you're planning on going through this tonight. You can send those to us. You can ask us those now. You can
Sure.
do
Mhm.
whatever you want. I guess the high level altitude summary of the project is that the state recognizes that Sunset Lake Dam has hydraulic issues and structural issues. And it is scheduled for reconstruction. That reconstruction project will last for approximately 1 year. And it will mean that the lake level is drawn down to at least the winter level for the next summer season. So the speaker was correct in stating that. And this is the first project that has really taken place on this dam, first big project, certainly since the 1960s when it was last worked on by Fish and Game. And yeah, there's some deficiencies that the state wants to take care of whilst we have the funding to do that. And, you know, I'm certainly open to the idea of a few questions, but I also got the impression that you guys wanted this to be short and sweet tonight.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that they missed the, that was the idea behind the appointment, the impression we got. It was an informational session to the town.
Yeah.
But obviously we weren't prepared that there was going to be so much public questions. So
Okay.
with that said, I mean, obviously the town and the board has an interest in making sure that the residents get their questions answered and are informed throughout the process. So anything that we can do, I know you had talked about this meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you end up deciding to do an in-person meeting or you want to do something along those lines, even though it's not appropriate at a selectmen's meeting on a state project, but with other projects in the past, we've hosted or helped host informational forums for our residents on state projects when they propose the traffic circle changes or other things like that, rumble strips. We help facilitate that. So if you find that there's a need for that or the residents do, then I'm more than happy to help facilitate that if the board would like us to. As well.
And if we find after, you know, August 2nd that there's a wish for that, you know, we're happy to do that also on
Good.
our end.
Mhm.
Now, everyone here, or anyone will be able to access the information for that on August 2nd. You'll have that available on your website.
It is not on our website. So if you wanted to just send me an email, I can add you to the invite list.
Okay.
Can we give?
That's what I'm wondering is if we could, so that make it so that it's open to the public to be able to view that.
Well, it is open to the public in the sense that anybody can join the meeting. I just have to send them the invites. I mean, I'll be honest, this is maybe my lack of technical skills, but I don't know how to put it on our website.
We could
We could
post it on
figure
our
that
website.
out. Yeah.
If you could print it on your website so that it's open, so everyone could, and you could invite them to view on
Yeah.
August 2nd, I think that would be helpful to a lot of their questions.
Okay.
Yeah, it would also be great to get questions prior to the meeting so that we
Yeah.
can be as prepared as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
apologize. I think it'd be a good idea to maybe give them guys the gentleman's questions so they can answer. The group can get the answers to their questions in a timely fashion.
Mhm.
Or maybe during that
Keep a copy of
August,
those though.
that August 2nd.
Yep.
You guys can answer the questions that the group has, so there's
You
no,
can get those,
Maybe-
these questions to
maybe
you.
address some of their issues that they have
And,
to
and
get
Brock,
that moving
that's,
forward.
that's useful for us.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Charlie and I are civil engineers. So
Right.
if you ask questions about vegetation or something like that.
Right.
Understandable. I got you.
So if this was sent to you, the questionnaires, and so you'd be able to address that openly with them, so that you'd be able to read these questions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel that people have some questions and they
Yeah.
deserve an answer to them.
I'd like to
Absolutely.
be
I
them
agree.
to be able to see the whole session.
I agree with everything that is being said.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Our website is semi-convoluted DES. Would it be easier for us to send you the link in a PDF format to post under the town's website, or would you prefer it under DES?
It doesn't matter. If you send us something, we'll get it on our
Get it on.
website.
Okay.
And the other thing I was going to suggest is, if it's a matter of email or group list, that I can also make sure that before, as people leave today, if they want to put down sort of an email roster.
Okay.
And then that way we can send a group email out with the invite. And also with, because I don't think there's enough cards for everybody.
I suspect you're right.
I can put your information on that group email as well. And then they can contact, like you said, right, email questions ahead of time, just to help facilitate that communication.
That should help everything all around.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you
Ryan, do
very
you want me
much.
to bring these up to you then?
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Sorry. I didn't more.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll take one.
Okay. Okay, new business. Road name change to Butler Drive.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
If you guys have questions for the DES gentlemen, can you wait till after the meeting, please?
Thank you. Going on to new business. Again, I'll say road name change for Butler Drive.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Yes.
After, as my opinion on this is after reading all the letters that we've received and everything, I myself would make a motion to not change the name of the road and leave it the way it was.
I'd second that.
Okay, any further discussion on this? And I feel the same way. I think it's also gonna be a problem with E911. I don't see the advantage to changing that portion. I believe we should remain the same.
Put that to a vote.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Butler Road stays the same.
You don't get that very often.
Nice, thank you.
Never get that.
Yeah.
That was nice.
can we do that again? One more time, guys?
Okay. New business, also on this is changes to the employee retirement for 57B.
So yes, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, we had spoke at one point, just to clarify, this has nothing to do with the New Hampshire retirement system. For the general public sense and the employees, I didn't want anybody to, when they heard the word retirement, think that it has anything to do with New Hampshire. This is strictly the 457B plan. And what we're looking at is as you know, that there's been some requests in the past where people have requested to utilize that money or pull that money for particular reasons. Right now, we belong to a plan that only allows for the use of that money.
I can't hear
Can
you.
everyone
Oh,
please
can't
hear you.
quietly, can you quietly exit, please?
Yeah, if you're gonna,
We'll just take a minute and then that way we can let them.
Can't hear it, whatever.
Thank
No, that's fine.
No.
If you can't hear me, that's fine. There's a lot of people. A lot
Thank-
more
But you can
Thank
clap
you,
again if you
than-
want.
Yeah.
very much.
A lot more than the usual three.
We'll just wait just a second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
folks.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay,
All right, so as you're probably aware, we've had a couple of requests or things that have come up with people that want to utilize the money in their 457 plan. Right now, we currently have a 457 plan that we had adopted years ago. And I don't even know when, but it sort of predates. Mhm.
We don't know what that crowd.
Not to mention the hallways in this building echo. I found that out, no. So with that said, we had looked into what it would take to change the plan to a more employee friendly plan where that they can actually borrow off it, which a lot of 401ks and
Mhm.
457s have that opportunity. So come to find out, we can change the plan whenever the board chooses to that. We just have to answer a couple of questions for policy reasons, you know?
Mhm.
But other than that, the change would allow employees to borrow off of that 457 plan. It wouldn't just be an emergency situation where somebody, because technically right now there's a 7 or 8 page form now that you have to fill out in order to utilize that money if somebody got sick, if you know, say the roof was tore off your house in a storm. I don't even know if that would qualify, to be honest with you. A lot of it, yeah. So the benefit of looking at this is, like I said, it's much more employee friendly. I don't think there's really a big drawback on the town side of things because the money's there no matter what. And the responsibility to pay it back and to handle it is all through the
Well,
employee.
it's all calculated by their, what they put into it, of course.
Yeah, not only
What
that,
they-
it's
what they-
their money.
It's their money, yes.
Yeah.
Why, who are we to tell them they can't use their money that they put in? That's,
Yeah. So really what it boils down to is the only thing that we need to make a decision on from the board side of things is there's on page, starting on page 3.
Mhm.
This is the agreement instructions. So one of the things that we need to speak about is well, section 3 is
On purpose.
it's a loan purpose. I don't think the board, oh, well, I'm not gonna speak for you, but I would assume that you probably don't want to set specific purposes. It should, I mean, all
I don't think
purposes.
so.
I don't know if you want to get into vetting situations.
I think it's their money.
Yeah,
I don't,
Yeah,
Let them use it.
A is all purposes and B would be other, I mean,
that would be if you wanted to specify, like, you can only use it for X, Y, and
right,
Z,
right.
which is what is happening right now. It's only emergencies, like,
Mhm.
so opening it up would be more,
by the sounds of it, it's not even just for it has to be a catastrophic emergency.
yeah.
Which these guys pay into this
Mhm.
plan.
What is
Yes, they
our,
do.
what is the
Their money.
provision currently for the other plans as far as restrictions? Are there any?
The restriction for our current plan?
Yeah.
Right now, the only money can only be touched in a catastrophic emergency.
Okay.
And that form needs to be filled out. And then it has to be submitted to, what is it? I think it's ICMA, for approval purposes. So they vet it. I've seen the application recently has come out. It was about 7 or 8 pages. Even with medical situations, they want to know what your plan is paying out, what the deductible is and things like that. And if there's any other expenses, my understanding of it is even if the medical expenses are covered,
Mhm.
any other expenses you have, maybe at home treatment, you know, like if you had to build a handicap ramp or something like that, it doesn't look like that would even be covered.
And that call is made by the administrator of our plan,
Yes,
not by the town.
right.
I see.
In my experience, when I worked for the town, it was very hard to get
Yeah.
money from that account. Extremely hard.
Well, I'd like to offer a little different perspective, and it probably won't be very popular, but speaking as an old guy who used to manage a employee benefit plan, I think we have some obligation to at least caution people and perhaps make it difficult for them so that when you're in your 20s or 30s, retirement, not even a consideration. And all of a sudden you get to your 60s and you say, oh my God, I'm in a jam here because I took out loans on my plan to buy that nice Corvette or go to Europe for a month. And now I don't have the money. And I wish the town hadn't let me do that. At the very least, I think we ought to have some provision that would drive people to give some consideration to what they're doing to their retirement plan. Because it definitely sets you back.
Rich,
Yeah.
just 1 second, can we do have, what we're saying, there's 2 retirement plans that each person has. They have the New Hampshire retirement system.
Yeah.
Plus this 4, 5, 6.
Uh-huh.
They can't borrow from the New Hampshire retirement system. That's locked. You can't touch that.
Okay.
So the 4, 5, 7 is money that they decide to take out of their check and put into this program.
Yeah.
That is on their own. So if you lose the roof on your house and you don't happen to have 10 grand in you can
That's what I did. I used it as a
It's-
savings account.
It's more like a savings account than anything. They do have a retirement plan that they can't touch.
Oh, okay.
That's through the state retirement system.
Well, let me ask you something else then in regard to that too. And I had asked this once before to a previous board and it wasn't really considered, but I would like to see us put our employee handbook on our website so every citizen could look and see exactly what's allowed, what's presented, and so on, rather than have to go into the town hall and either sit in a corner and read or cough up 50 cents a page for a copy.
That's the first it was never requested since I've been here. I will tell you right
No,
now.
this was before your time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've
Old
never,
timers would remember this.
I don't think there's any issue with doing that for a transparency standpoint. The only thing is from an administrative standpoint, right now, there's so many changes going into that document over the last year that it's hard to, it's not a flowing document, so we'd have to keep pulling it down. We just have to make sure the versions, that's the hard part about it, is keeping up with the versions till we get to a clean copy. So I do know that for the 2 years prior to me showing up or taking over in this position, the book, the personnel manual was completely rewritten. And unfortunately, it wasn't rewritten with a lot of input from some of the department heads. So there's been a lot of changes that have been made or adjusted that we've done over the last year and a half. So I think we can get to that point. My recommendation wouldn't be to do it right now, just because there's going to be so many changes in the next few months that we're still trying to get to.
Well, I mean,
you-
it's not an emergency thing,
Right.
but I think it would be beneficial if it was on the website at some point, and maybe I'll be the only person that ever looks at it. I don't know, but-
But no, you have a good point.
Yep.
All right, thank you. So right now you just need an answer whether or not to adopt this.
To adopt it, and then if we can get a consensus on what the answer is for the board for these, because in order to adopt it, we just have to answer these questions.
Mhm.
The one, obviously the first one would be down to 3.
Mhm. One to 3 employees.
Would be with all purposes, by the sounds of it.
Mhm.
The other one is maximum number of loans people can take up to from 1 up to 5 loans.
At one time.
I think
At one time.
at one time. That's why I think the board needs to decide on how many. I think my recommendation would be that it's one
I think
one
one.
at a time. And
One
I
at a
think-
time.
I think that lends itself to what Nick was saying, is to put some sort of parameters so people don't just get
Right.
crazy with it and start
Well,
loaning-
exactly.
taking 5 loans at once.
Well, I
off
think
the
it's
account.
good to say too, that you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
It comes-
Well, yeah, I mean,
You have to pay it's a loan. It's
Yeah.
not
it's a loan against their own.
against their own money.
Their own money and their own
Right.
policy. So, and each policy is individual.
Right.
Will they,
So there's different amounts that they
will
can.
they have to
apply for.
pay any interest or any money, for taking this money out?
I think
For
it's
borrowing?
read somewhere prime plus 3%.
Is it prime plus 3%?
That would make sense.
But it goes back to them,
Yeah, to the employer.
paying yourself
Yeah.
interest.
Yes.
Okay.
Are they able to set their own terms? Or does this company give them a certain amount of months to pay it back in based
Well,
on the amount?
The loan length is up to us. So depending on how much they take or whatnot, but we set a limit on it. I don't think, because you got to be careful too, that employees are taking loans that outlive their employment with the town.
Yeah, but
becomes
the
a
only
little
person that
cumbersome.
hurts is the employee, because you're gonna pay the taxes on it if you don't pay it back.
Right.
They're gonna hit you on every end you can find.
And it becomes a distribution, a taxable distribution.
Right.
Right. It ends up to your taxable income is what it'll end up doing. You won't, if you don't pay it back, the only person that's gonna hurt is you.
So the loan guideline agreement has 17 sections to it,
Yes.
17 in all.
Mhm.
So,
But most of them are, a lot of them just explain what it is. It's not an actual decision
Mhm.
that needs to be made. But some of these things are what when they submit for their loan application, it's all taken care of.
Mhm.
I'm just looking for the general board parameters where the town says you can use it for this purpose. You can use it for this long.
Mhm.
And
You take this much.
yeah, you can take this much and you can do it this many times. That's it. That's really all we have to set for
Right.
parameters. As far as interest rate, exact terms, exact amounts, they'll hammer that, they'll
That's
work that
theirs.
out in their
It all-
application to ICM.
Right, it's all varies. It's all different. The maximum loan amount worksheet and it all varies
Yeah,
to
but-
each and every individual.
But this,
case.
that's not what we handle. They
No,
handle that.
They
We
handle
just-
that.
We handle these three things and then it goes.
So, so we're already on all purposes,
All
right?
purposes.
And then we're gonna do the one loan.
And you can
And-
take,
One loan,
if you want to take it all, and but you can only do it once.
only do it one time.
Yep. And then
It's your money.
what do you guys want to do for years?
I think they had listed 5 years.
Yeah, I think
That was-
5 years.
5 years.
That's a
To
standard.
not exceed
loan.
5, yeah.
That's a, I mean, you're not financing a house.
Mhm.
Okay. So we need a motion for those three
I'm,
purposes.
so just to accept these three? Is that
Well,
what-
to accept the modification of the plan of
the 457?
457B plan with these stipulations.
I make a motion that we adjust the loan, the loan 457B guidelines to the loan purpose on section 3 to be A, all purposes. The section 5, maximum number of loans be limited to one.
One.
And section 7, the length of the loan to not exceed 5 years.
5 years. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Interesting, when you think about it, though, now that I seconded that and voted for it. If we limit the loan to one loan. And an individual has a need, say he has $50,000 in an account. And he takes out 5,000 for a medical procedure.
I
and it
question that
pays
too.
over
I see where
5
you're going
years,
with it.
and 3 years later. Roof blows off his house.
Mhm.
And then we say, well, sorry, you already got one out, you're out of luck.
Should we revisit that and change that to 2?
Well, it's been voted on and approved and that I asked if there was any discussion. That would have been the time for that.
Yeah, I understand. That's why I say I'm kind
We
of kicking
can't
myself here.
revisit.
We can revisit if we take a vote on it to revisit.
You want-
Am I able to amend the motion?
You can rescind your motion and amend it, and then we'd have to rescind the second and agree to amend it and revote.
So you want to,
Are we sure everybody voted on one? Are we sure we want to change this to 2?
That's,
That's,
it kind of makes sense. It does.
kind of
make a
makes
little bit of
sense. I mean, you brought that, so you
Yeah.
want to rescind your,
if
your motion.
that's the board's general consensus,
Let's-
all of
let's-
us,
let's do it. Yes.
all of us, Mr. Shea, yes, everybody, okay.
Yep, let's just,
I'm
I
fine
make a
with it.
motion that I rescind my prior amendment and make a new amendment that states section 3 is still for all purposes. Section 5. Sorry, I gotta find page 3. Section 5 is going to be changed from 1 to 2. And then section 7 will still be not more than 5 years, not to exceed 5 years.
okay, and who, you second that, you
Yes.
rescind the other.
I'm
set.
fine
So
with
Are you going
the,
to second this motion?
with the rescission and reintroduction of an amendment to that effect.
Okay, any further discussion?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
Okay,
good catch.
Yep.
thank you.
Not as quick as I used to be.
Okay, retention proposal.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. So what this is about is well, a while back, the board had discussed and mentioned, talking about a hiring and retention proposal as far as wages, looking at the wages and where we're at competitively with the other communities around us and what we have going on right now. So the discussion was a 10% wage increase, which is where I went to finance for the numbers for. So if we do it currently, and just to reiterate, I know we've talked a number of different times right now, we're 9 positions down throughout the town right now. We haven't been
How
on
many?
9. So we have vacancies in multiple different departments, highway being one of the worst, police department being next. As far as trying to get applicants either interested or to even hire qualified applicants. We're just not having luck with the hiring process or retaining employees because most municipalities are poaching from neighboring communities. Fortunately, because we're all in the same boat, we're all struggling.
Yep.
So we did go through and look back at the wages and one of the main reasons, to give you a little bit more background on this, is I know we've had this discussion about cost of living and trying to keep up with things. We had this in-depth conversation last year and we ended up doing 2%. But just to put it in perspective, we've done 2% over the last 3 years. Over the last 3 years, cost of living has always been based on CPI, which is the cost of living index for the Northeast region. Originally, our pay and COLA increases were based on that June number every year. And it was adjusted for every year. We went 3 years without it. And in those 3 years, we went 2% and the CPI went up 14.5%. So we fell far short of that mark moving forward. And I think that's part of the reason where we fell behind. So with that said, looking at the numbers and going through it with finance, that 10% would be covered. It could be covered this year for the rest of this year with, and for the main reason is that all of those vacancies have full-time wages, medical insurance, retirement. There's all not being used. So right now, all of that money, obviously it's going to end up going into as much overtime as we can or expenses. But it makes more sense to make those adjustments with the money that we have.
Will this allow us to hire people at a better rate and not kick back the rest of our employees to, you know what I mean? Are we going to be able to go out and get a truck driver for a better rate and not have it jump back onto the employees we already have? So we're paying a truck driver that we just hired more than we're paying one that's been here.
No, this isn't equal. The only positions that it wouldn't include would be ones that we already have previous agreements done or that were just made adjustments. Because we have discussed some particular positions that we've adjusted and that for that same reason. Because they needed to be either reclassified or adjusted. But these are for the other positions that haven't been addressed yet across the board. Because that is the main reason. If you reclassify, say, entry wages, then you end up with people that have 5 to 10 years with a department making the same, if not $1 less or so of
Somebody
another employee.
Right.
So the assessment goes across the board. The other thing it does is it raises all the minimum levels, the same percentage on the hiring scale, so that as we move forward, we're at that mark. Doesn't cost the town any more money. It's just changing that scale so that we have the ability to hire at a higher rate.
At a higher rate.
Yeah.
No, and what are you thinking of a higher rate?
Well, 10% is the
10%.
numbers that we ran. So that puts, you take the average position and it's roughly $2.50 to $3 an hour.
Have we looked at, or is information available about state averages in that regard from the municipal association or some other organization?
Yes. That we've done a number of payroll studies. And those payroll studies have all shown that we are deficient in those areas. But right now, I'll tell you, in this current climate, to run a payroll study right now, it's not effective. It doesn't work because right now people are hiring based on their need and people are setting their rates. We have I know of towns and departments, one that are offering sign-on bonuses. I've never heard of a police department offering a sign-on bonus. There's ones that are offering 10 grand to walk in the door.
$21,000.
$20,000 I've heard too.
Really?
They're doing the same thing. I don't know if fire service is offering bonuses, but I'm assuming they probably are some departments are, I'm sure, are doing similar. But then you get into, you know, a lot of the other labor positions and things of that nature. They're hiring at much higher rates than what they're advertising because people are setting terms. It's a market, it's a hiring market that we've never experienced. Well, so I'm about 23 years, I've never experienced that.
It's different.
With what's going on.
It's across the board. It's across the private sector and municipalities.
Well, and that's what's like you're getting like the paving companies that are hiring the guys that we would hire for a truck driver that is, even if we said, okay, we'll give you $25 an hour, well, the pavement company's offering me $35 an hour.
Right.
So what,
And they're paying my insurance for the year and I get to go ice fishing all
so
winter.
what we're after right now is a 10% increase across the board for the departments, for the majority of the departments.
Yeah.
And
And this also includes 10% for new hires with a more flexible scale to be able to hire them based on their experience, right?
Yes.
and also what you're saying is it's in our budget because of the lack of personnel
Right.
is the reason why we can do this now. What if we filled all those positions?
If we fill
What
them all,
what if we all of a sudden filled all those positions?
we're still already, for the annual operating budget, when looking at the numbers, we're still about 4 or 5%.
With those 10
4 or
positions,
5% of 9 million, 9.6
Mhm.
million.
Mhm.
with those
Me
10
too.
positions filled, I see where Paul's going. If we
Can we
had
still
those-
sustain?
Yeah,
it?
can we
still
sustain
sustain
that next year with all 10 positions full?
That's what I'm. worried
Next
about.
year?
Next
If we were to
year,
fill all.
Yeah,
10
if we fill all the positions, I mean, it's gonna go into the proposed operating budget for next year.
Mhm.
And I've already talked to most of the department heads,
Were they in, did
about,
they know about this?
yeah. Well, they know that, I mean, obviously I didn't advertise what the proposal was until they get a consensus where we're going with the board, but to the employees, but I did talk to the department heads because I know that there's got to be a plan moving forward next year and how we're going to soften that for the taxpayers. Because one of the things that's happening right now, which is very concerning, and it was illuminated during the floods, is we've invested a lot of money in equipment. We've invested a lot of money in trucks. We've invested a lot of money in all that. Right now, in the middle of a flood, we got $100,000 trucks sitting because we don't have a driver.
Nobody.
I mean, there's.
I saw it
there's-
firsthand.
there's-
We're all
there-
there.
We were all
I-
there.
We were there. We've seen it.
Yeah, there's nothing worse right now. And that's one of the things that's a really big push that I want to put out there for your information, but also more so for the taxpayers as well that are listening to this discussion, is that our tax base isn't solely, I mean, our tax burden isn't solely the operating budget. The operating budget, yes, is a big portion of it. But you got to tally up all our warrant articles. You start looking at what we spent in warrant articles and what we've bought for equipment. Now that we don't have people on it, now we need to, and I've talked to the department heads, now we need to pull back a little bit on what we're buying for
Absolutely.
equipment or
Absolutely.
cycling out
Staff.
until
We don't
can
need
staff-
equipment if we don't have the personnel.
until we can staff what we have.
The department heads felt like this was a good avenue to go and like this was the best way to go. As far, I understand, from a money aspect, but more enticing for them to come in, not changing like a benefits pack or anything like that. The money is the biggest.
And nothing for nothing. We saw it. We were in the
Well,
middle of
we
a
did.
flood and you walk into the highway garage and you're like, why is there 2 10-wheelers sitting? in
Exactly.
there? And they're
That's the
like,
first
"Because we
question
don't
out of
have
our minds."
a driver."
And just so we're clear, yes, there were 2 10-wheelers there, but every person at the highway department was doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there was no
Everybody was
question about that.
Huge
so
kudos
there's no
to the
que-
department.
there's no
Everybody,
question.
I watched the fire
Everyone.
department in a hole digging,
Yeah.
like not playing. I
Top
mean,
guys.
going full
No.
tilt. It wasn't,
if
So
we were,
everybody
every-
was together on that.
Every available personnel
Was
that was
hands
out and they
on.
were working.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
So
And that's just the way. it
that's
was.
why I'm in support of something along these lines. I'm sure, I don't know how the other board members feel, but I'm in support.
if we were to do this, what would the time frame be and what would impact would it have on the currently planned increases, if any?
That's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah.
We don't have any right now, do we?
What's that?
We don't have any currently planned increases right now.
No,
No.
no.
So
But
this year,
timing as far
we
as-
had no cost of living and no merit increases.
Will it be for next year?
That would be for next year.
That'll be coming up with the new budget,
When
the new
he's right,
budgets.
Mr. Shea was right. So when would this go into effect? Something along these lines?
I was looking for it to go into effect immediately.
And
I
what
mean, we
happens-
can wait, but it's just,
Oh, I
as we're
understand,
waiting
but
with.
what-
Happen is we're not gonna pay these guys and we're gonna be sitting in plow trucks.
No. What I'm getting at is what
Just so
happens
you know.
at the end of the year when everybody's looking for their raises. Then this covers 2024 calendar year for raises for all the departments. Is that what this is going to cover, or will there be an extra cost of living on top of this?
No, that wouldn't be, my recommendation wouldn't be a separate cost of living. But a merit increase, a lower merit increase for performance base.
But that's a performance base. So
Right,
we would definitely do away with the cost of living.
So this 10% would
Would
go
carry over
10%
2024.
into 2024.
Is your belief that the 10% increase will definitely entice outside help to apply at
It
this
will.
time?
I think so. I will tell you that obviously one of my in-depth conversations was with the Public Works Director. They're down, I think, 4 positions now currently. And the retention down there has been difficult. And I've asked him flat out, is it working? What are we looking at? And, just to give you an example without mentioning names or whatnot, but we just lost an employee to another city doing, labor, grounds and maintenance work, things like that. For almost $4.60 more an hour
Mhm.
to walk out of the door.
Mhm.
Doing the same work.
Same
It's not
thing.
like he got hired for a job that was, had a lot more responsibility or risk or anything like that. But mainly it's been money.
So we'll be
Spend
able
money.
we'll be able to, hopefully, if this all goes well, we'll be able to give them the 10% and then roll this new operating budget
next
into
year.
2024. With the assumption that it's cost of living, merit,
With-
right, only.
With the understanding, I would have to throw in is that any equipment be held off from this point on unless it's a total necessity.
This is separate from equipment though, right? Isn't this from like a high standpoint, I guess? Where would the 10% come from?
Oh, no, that's out of the operating budget.
Out of the
We're talking
It's out of the
about, yeah.
operating budget.
Yeah,
So
but I
I'm
guess,
just, I'd like to see a little, if not use the word, the lack of other words, is not to have a freeze on equipment. But we, had, like you just stated, we have in the last 2 years and the last year bought a lot of equipment.
right.
And it's time,
that's
and
what-
I think if we do this, it's time that every department understands that we're gonna be holding back on any new
We
equipment.
still have those caps, so they'll still come before us anyway, right?
Mhm.
We'll still be able to. see
Cap is
what-
still only a suggestion. It's still a suggestion. It's not something that's made
By doing this,
exactly.
by doing this, what you're saying is you're hoping that we can maybe step back from some of the warrant articles.
Yes.
for
Oh,
this year.
I was.
That's exactly.
We're
what I-
still gonna have equipment that we have to, there's still
Of
stuff.
course,
we
I
got
understand
to
that. I understand that. I understand it. But we have bought a lot of equipment in
Right.
the last 2 years.
But we're gonna have to take, what we're gonna have to do if we decide to do this for employee retention is we're gonna have to take a real hard look at the warrant articles and
Yes.
how much money we're throwing at all these more. Like
I
I
would
said,
rather-
there's still
yeah.
some departments that we're gonna have to fund.
I'd rather
This-
spend the money on employee retention than.
That's where I'm
I
going with
understand.
this.
But
I
To
agree.
keep the employees
I agree.
and make it
Gain
a
more.
little bit more enticing for new employees to come in. We have some of this equipment that's just sitting. To be able to use this equipment, to have the things that we need. But to slow up a little bit on equipment that we really don't have to purchase.
So is there,
There's no sense in having equipment we don't have a person to sit in to drive.
That's right.
Do we have, this is probably not an easy thing to calculate, but it would be good to know if we were fully staffed next year with this increase in the budget, what that impact would have on the bottom line and on the tax rate.
I do
He's
have,
willing to bet he's got it.
I do have that number.
So you paid me to ask that question.
That's right. No, I went to the people that could answer it for me, which would be the assessor. And take that together. So at Now let me decipher it. Based on the town's value. So currently, total wages are only $1.98 per thousand is attributed to wages, wages alone.
Mhm.
So out of that 1137, wages accounts for $1.98. 10% will put the tax rate up to, or I should say the wage portion
Mhm.
to $2.18 per thousand,
Which is an overall gain of quick math.
20 cents.
Mhm.
Overall gain of 20 cents.
So what that equates to when you start looking at assessed values and tax burden.
Mhm.
So that increase on a $300,000 house is $60 a year.
Now, that's if we don't decide to pay some of that down with unassigned fund, right?
Right. We do have
We
the
didn't-
option.
Did we not pay that down? We didn't use any money to pay the tax rate down last year.
We did not pay the tax rate went down alone.
Alone
on
by
its own.
itself.
By
without
itself,
paying
by
it down.
itself, yeah.
The only thing we used some money from the unassigned
Yeah.
balance was a couple of special one-time warrant articles.
Right.
So the other thing that the assessor added is there's going to be a dramatic difference when we go right into the next reval. Because our value of our town is estimated to jump almost another $1 billion, almost to we're at 2.19
Billion?
billion. $2,193,069 and 111.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to say that. It's too many decimal points. But because of obviously the climate of the market and the amount of high-end building permits that have been pulled for large homes, waterfronts, things of that nature. And the assessor is seeing all that. He's picking all those up every time a new build comes in. He's the first one out there, taking a look and assessing that and figuring out what the assessed value is. And he knows what he's picking up that wasn't included or that's coming down the pipe that has not been finished building or anything that isn't in the current reval. But when that all calculates back out again.
But for the existing residents, I mean, it's not going to be an astronomical jump for the existing residents, right?
No, that's what it is. I mean, he gave me a breakdown. So 10% on $100,000 piece of property, which is probably not a home. It's probably some vacant land or big piece of parcel of land or something, or a small cabin.
5 feet out on the street.
Yeah. That's $20 a year. An increase at 10%. For a $300,000 home, it's $60. For a $500,000 home, it's $100 a year. For a $750,000 home, it's $150. And for $1 million home, it's $200.
You would hope and expect that the increase in our grand list would result in the downward pressure on the taxes, even though the actual expenditures will increase. And I think our grand list has gotten a pretty good boot in the back end with all of this construction.
Do we have a tally what we've actually had in new building permits this year? I know the building inspector has said it at one point.
He had already, I mean, we weren't even halfway through the year and he would pretty much already funded his home balance with just
Right.
building permits.
Right.
As far as the total number of them, I don't have that off the top of my head. I can find out, but I do know, or I remember John saying.
Safe to say the town's growing.
Oh, it's growing.
Oh, it's growing.
It's growing enough. It's growing enough to be able to handle this type of situation.
That's what I'm asking. And that's where I'm going with that.
I mean, I understand we're probably gonna catch a little flack for doing it off the cuff here, but I mean, I really, guys, we were out there, all of us were out there. We need to be able to fill the
We're
truck.
just not getting the employees.
Not doing it. So I mean, I don't know about you guys.
So the other thing I just want to throw out there to further boast that a little bit is one of the big things. And I think most of you have seen it. And we talked about it a lot, was that Loon Cove Bridge. The Loon Cove Bridge was a disaster. All right. That was assessed. The estimates that we got about pulling that deck bridge, or excuse me, the bridge deck and what we were going, that job alone, talking about a 3-day job, put $120,000 back in the bank for the town.
Mhm.
Our people went down there and did that, and they did work that a lot of people couldn't do. A lot of people not only couldn't do it, but probably wouldn't do it because it was so labor intensive.
And
So-
that's exactly why we need to be able to, I mean, I know it's gonna cost a little bit of money to do this, but at the end of the day, you know, the highway department, you gotta remember, every person was out there. We saw it. I'm all about the employee
Oh, no,
retention,
they-
you know it.
There's no question
So
there.
as long as the board is, I'd like to, Mr. Shade, Andrew, any more questions from anybody?
No.
All right, I'd like to put forth a motion that we increase the new hire and existing employees in specified departments. Is there a way to word this correctly with?
Well,
Retainment,
I
retention.
guess what it comes down to is the ones that already don't have reclassifications or agreements in place.
I would like to put forth that what's the word I'm looking for? The departments that don't already have, what am I looking- there we go, reclassifications for this year
Or agreements in
or
place.
agreements in place. I vote that we put forth the 10% for the new hires and the existing employees.
So, well, I guess we gotta wait for a second and then I can,
Do we have a second?
I'll second for discussion or,
For discussion, yeah.
and I'm a little confused here. I thought we were talking about a 10% across the board for all current employees, but it sounds like that's not the case.
There are departments that already have,
That already had,
already
an
had
increase.
increases.
That we voted on?
yes,
I must have missed that.
going
meeting.
back.
No, it was
oh,
before you had, it was before, I think. It was
No, he
before.
wasn't.
No, we
well,
were
it
here.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Some were before and some were current too. Because we
On
just did some
consent,
other,
on the consent agenda, yeah.
Yeah.
there's-
there was
There are
some,
some that already have had an adjustment.
So are we going to have any
like, for instance,
employee
one of
morale
them,
issues with people that say, well, you know, yeah, I had my adjustment and it was 6% and now other departments are getting 10? Or
no,
is this-
because most of the adjustments that have been made have been well over 10%.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll give you
Case by
I'll
case
give you an
basis.
example of one that you're probably going to remember that just happened because it was a public vote afterwards. But there was 2 retired police officers that were working part-time and we just jumped their rate because of their status of retirees and not part-time certified. They jumped almost $5, $6 an hour.
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one
That's
of
one of the
the,
cases.
one of the examples.
Okay.
So,
Any further discussion?
Before we put this to a vote, I just want to make sure that, you know, all town employees were recognized for everything that transpired over the last week. Obviously,
I
hands
was
down, we
Hey,
have
you
some of the
never-
best employees.
going to speak in my, on,
We have some of the
Yeah.
best
selectmen
employees.
reports on that.
I think we all were.
Yeah, we
But
all
I
were
think-
gonna handle that one.
I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
wait on that.
That
So
was,
that being said, we have,
Put it to a vote.
so no further discussion with this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I am gonna abstain, but I'm gonna tell you, I am in full favor of this, but I have a wife that's an employee that's about to get some money. So I'm gonna abstain from the vote, but I am in favor of the employees getting there.
Thank you.
It's easier than getting divorced, right?
No,
No, he's doing.
trying to do the right thing.
He's doing the right thing.
I don't,
Yeah.
I think the employees deserve every
He's
penny
doing
of
the
it.
right thing. All right. Okay, old business. Insurance buyout policy.
right. This also goes along to our discussions on, trying to find different ways to entice employees or for new hires or retention. And this one doesn't cost any more money. It's just a better policy. So if you look at the policy
Save us
change,
some though.
what? It will save us some.
I'd save us some.
So what we're doing right now is the current policy, I'm trying to get to the changes on that policy. It's in your book.
Mhm.
So somewhere in here.
Chapter 8 benefits. Yeah.
Yeah,
Page 33.
Okay. So yes, okay. So you see in red, the red is the proposed changes. So currently right now, and for years, the town has had a insurance buyout, meaning that if you opt not to take our health insurance plan, you as an employee would get an end of the year check of $3,000 if you were employed for the whole year and didn't take the plan. $3,000. At the time, that was a good incentive. That's what a lot of towns and communities were doing, the state and everybody else, to sort of entice employees. Well, now, you know, every year now, health insurance goes up almost 21%, 22%, things like that. So one of the other things, and I know from experience, my wife's town works for the county, for Merrimack County, and they just addressed their plan as well based on expenses. So just to give you an idea, so right now we give an employee that takes a family plan $3,000 for not taking it. Well, it costs the town $27,056.44. So we're only giving them $3,000 to not take basically a $27,000 benefit that we pay for. So the proposal for this is that, one, we break it up so that people get a buyout based on the plan that they're saving the town. So right now we only give $3,000 across the board to somebody that takes a family plan, to the same person who's married with no kids and has a single plan, because a single plan only costs us 10 grand. So we're saving 7 grand at $3,000. But on a family plan, when a family or an individual gets $3,000, we're saving $17,000. So it's not really proportional, and it doesn't really entice. $3,000 isn't really enticing a lot of people to leave and take their spouse's plan. Because plans are a lot more competitive now. The towns and the municipalities usually always had the best plans. It's not really the case anymore. There's a lot of competitive plans out there, and you have people in the, you know, teachers, you have people that have family members that are in other professions that have really good plans now too. And it's an issue of deductible and things of that nature. So the proposal is to make it more even out is that if somebody, this would be effective January 1, because we're already through this year, and the enrollment period for health insurance is, is coming up. So for anybody, the proposal would be that for anybody that enrolls or opts out of a family plan, that we bump that buyout to $7,000. And again, that's.
And we're still putting $10,000 or more than that in the pocket of the town.
Yeah, it'd be 17. So, excuse me, 20,000, because 7,000, it's a $27,000
For a
plan.
family plan.
So it's
So
still close to 20.
we're paying back 7 and the town would be getting saving 20
Yeah, 720.
per.
Going from 3,000 to 7,000.
3,000 to 7,000 for a family plan. Now, with that, a lot of the plans, so with that, what the employee would be required to do is provide a letter of coverage from. And then what that does is cover us to make sure that they have health insurance, that someone's just not opting to go health insurance free. Because that's not the case. And that's the same.
So they have to prove that they have a family plan
Yeah.
somewhere else or they're, yeah.
Are these numbers in line with the surrounding towns? Are they pretty close?
Yeah, they're on the higher end for a family plan. A lot of places have gone to 5,000. There are some that are higher than that. But also some of them, I don't know if their plans are as high as what ours are. But I will say some are 5,000. A lot of the surrounding ones are 5.
That would all depend on what their plan was, though. If their plan wasn't, if they weren't paying $27,000 for a family plan, who knows what they're paying? They could have said, okay, well, we're paying 20,000. So
I just meant a comparable plan as to what.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know how that whole thing would work, but.
Yeah.
So do you make any judgment about the quality or the degree of coverage of the plan that is being introduced to replace the one that the town has, or to anybody that comes in and says, here's my plan from Colonial Penn Life Insurance and it pays $5 on a open heart surgery?
Well, no, we wouldn't be legal. Legally, we wouldn't be able to request their medical, any kind of, well, I mean, the coverage limits, I guess, yes, we could. But that really wouldn't be, I mean, it's really not the town's We really don't have any say or anything about that, the coverage. I mean, basically the purpose of this employee benefit is if they know they have another family plan or another comparable plan, that, you know,
It basically
they're
is
making a
just-
family decision to opt out.
As bad as this is gonna sound, it's basically designed to save the town money is what it's basically.
It is.
designed to do.
Oh, I
But it's also, a perk too.
Exactly.
It's also a perk to somebody to, you know, that has if the option.
Right.
I mean, and I know that, you know, in a public meeting, I'm talking about my personal experiences, but for my situation, my wife is covered by a county plan that is almost
Mirrored.
same to same, but they have different limits that make it more beneficial for her to be on my plan. And that's how I know they just recently adjusted theirs based on hiring crunches and payroll studies and things of that nature. But I also know that every year I have to provide from HR
Letter.
a letter of coverage. And what all that simply states is what plan level that I am enrolled in and that we're covered. And that's basically where I was sort of modeling this proposal off of, is that the limits are different. They're higher because I think it makes more sense that somebody who opts out of a family plan receives more money for the savings to the town than the same person who's walking in with just a family plan for 10 grand.
Right.
And do we now have, or should we have a time frame? You can only change once a year, or can you switch in and out?
No. The policy is only good. So during the enrollment period of health insurance is only the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Except for different reasons like marriages, things like that. But our policy has always been that you're eligible for this if you opt out of the town's insurance and are employed for the whole year. That's why you get one check at the end of the year. But say they left employment in November, it's not the entire cycle of the premium, so they wouldn't get it. The same thing is, you know, you can't hire somebody in June, have them opt out, and then they get a full check because the town doesn't get that savings.
That would be prorated right at that point.
Well, we don't.
Or you don't get it.
The policy is always that they have to be in the insurance program for the entire, so the
Year
check
to
comes
make
in
the-
January 1.
I got
So it
you.
has to be the entire year proceeding. So
Yep.
this would go into effect if the board
January
was in
1st.
favor to make this change. The policy would go into effect now because the enrollment period is like November during budget season. I think it is. I think it's in that
So we
time
wouldn't
frame.
pay checks out till the following.
Right. So anybody that opted out under this new policy and these new rates,
Wouldn't
the only
see it.
checks we're paying out this year are the 3,000 for the current piece.
This wouldn't be till December of 2024.
Would be when we write the first check.
Gotcha.
But they have to be
Employed
according to
for
the
full
policy,
year.
they have to
Or
opt out
January
before the
1st.
beginning
Whatever, January,
year.
yeah.
and
So
then they
if-
have to be employed for the whole year.
So if at the beginning of the year, we had an employee whose husband had a great plan somewhere else. And so she said, okay, I'm opting out. And in June of that year, his company closed up and he's out of a job. Can she opt back in during the year, or is she out of?
That's
luck?
an
Yeah, there-
emergency
yeah.
situation you can.
Yeah, there are situations like that, like divorces, things, childbirth, where you can make changes to that, but that wouldn't change the policy. If they opted back in, they would be entitled to insurance coverage, but the buyout check wouldn't be till they had another
Full
following
year.
year.
You gotta be in a full year.
Okay.
So you just need a vote at this time to increase from 3,000 to 7,000 for a family plan.
And for a two-person plan, it would be from 3,000 to 5,000.
Mhm.
And for a single person plan, it would remain at 3,000.
Can you do that as written, Paul?
You could do it.
Could you just
make the
say as
changes
written,
as
made
proposed,
changes
as written.
as proposed?
Okay. Do we have a motion? If not, I'll do it, or. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
All right.
Want to do one, Andrew?
He's good.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to increase our benefits plan for a single plan, $5,000 for a two-person plan and $7,000 for a family plan. Did I leave out 3,000? I'm sorry. Did I say it right? 3,000 for single plan, 5,000 for
Two-person.
a two-person plan, and 7,000 for a family plan. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that'll be effective.
Well, the
immediate-
policy will be effective now, but
Mhm.
people won't be able to really take advantage of it until the opt-in, opt-out
Okay.
period of insurance this year. But it will publicize to the employees that changes in effect is made so that people can start talking to their spouses and their family members or partners about their insurance coverage, because there's going to be some conversation amongst families to decide
Oh, yeah.
on what they take and what they don't take.
Okay, old business prosecutor contract.
So the board, I won't take up a lot of your time with, long discussion about this, because right now, the reason I'm bringing it forward is just an advisory moving forward. So the prosecutor contract's good till January. We don't have to renew it until before January. But he gave us the courtesy, the police chief and myself, of sending this email out just to let, to give us an overview, because he is going to be looking. So for the last almost 10 years, the prosecutor's contract has gone up only by 2%, a max of 2%. And that's only if CPI is over 2%. So there's been years where it's been 0.8% or whatnot, but for 10 years, there hasn't been really much movement. And he's been perfect. He's been very happy and enjoys working for the town. He's one of the first towns that he became the prosecutor for. He now runs prosecution for, I think, 3 or 4 other towns, all out of Laconia District Court. But he does a really good job. But one of the concerns is, and I just to give you a little background information on it, and if you're not familiar with the term, a few years ago, so the state keeps making legal law changes. We all know that. Okay, they change everything. It doesn't matter what facet of your life it is, there are changes all the time. So one of the big things that they've done on the law enforcement front is they call it felonies first. I don't know if you've heard that term. So what it is when somebody is arrested over a felony offense, which, there's a multitude of felony offenses, from, hard drugs to sexual assaults to attempted murders to negligent homicide, all sorts of things. Well, the issue with felonies first is that was one of those initiatives where they wanted to streamline felony processes, get them in, get them arraigned, get them going. So what they did is they created this felonies first program, which took all of the violent and felony offenders, and they streamlined the process right into Superior Court. Now, how that affects prosecution is that took all the felonies and they're on the county attorney's office. So that means local prosecutors, because he doesn't do any felonies. He only does misdemeanors and below district court. Not that he couldn't try a case, but felonies are all in New Hampshire. Felonies are all tried by the county prosecutors in Superior Court. So what the big change is they found out that, obviously there was too many felonies to really sustain this new plan. And over the years, I think it's been in existence maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years. But over time, it just hasn't worked out the way that they had anticipated. So the new change is that's all going away now. So what that does to the prosecutor, the current prosecutor, is it takes all of the felony cases that our town has now. And instead of going right to Superior Court, they now have to be arraigned, and it has to be bound over to Superior Court at District Court. So that means all of those cases and that case prep and the trial trap, he's not going to be taking it to trial in Superior Court, but all the processing to get there, get them arraigned and get them or indictments on felonies and stuff like that. is all being run back through him now. So that just took, it's not like your natural progression of caseload. They took all that caseload and dropped it back on.
him.
So he wanted to give us a heads up before it got too close to budget season, to January, to say, hey, these are the significant changes. He outlined them very well in here.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
And I told, I told the police chief that I just, I was gonna that's why he's not here tonight, because I'm not looking for a decision. I just want you guys to start digesting the information so that when the contract does come up, it's not foreign to you.
Right.
You have a little bit
No,
of
that's fine.
Very
background.
good. No, it's
Thank you
appreciated.
for that.
Yeah.
It's appreciated. Thank you.
Let's see, 10 years, right? It'll be 10 years. And when was the date of this? So happy anniversary to him, huh?
Yeah, that's what he said. There was a little FYI in there that my start date was 7/1/13. So it's-
7/1/13.
Yeah.
Says never refused Ryan. You're gonna send him a card?
Okay. Very good. Anything else on that or you?
No, I'm good with that. That was an
Okay,
FYI. Yeah. we
Again,
don't
thank
know
you for
anything
that
more.
info and the heads up. Consolidation of nonprofit warrant articles.
Yes.
All
This
for
is,
that.
this is a question that kept coming up. And I was directed to, to speak with legal to find out where we were at with that.
Mhm.
And he was very, had a very solid answer that the board can choose to do whatever you want. That it does not need to go to town meeting and didn't need to the last time.
Okay.
The warrant articles belong to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen can put them on how they see fit, as long as
Okay.
DRA
It's good to know.
obviously is approved. So
Because we.
I will tell you,
Yeah.
just background information. The big thing was having a legal opinion on it, that could we do it or could we not do it?
Right, exactly.
So the two schools of
Glad we
thought
did that.
is if you bind them all together, that if somebody has a problem with one nonprofit, then
Right.
it might be the other ones. But I will tell you, I have heard that from people in the public.
I have
We
to.
always have. But I will tell you, right now, there's a resounding issue with the number of warrant articles we have
Fatigue.
in the
Yes.
book, in the booth.
Yeah.
And the
It's
fact
just-
that we're getting up to like
50
50
warrant
or
articles,
57, I think we had 50.
I
54.
think we had 54.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I agree. That's something I've been asking for to consolidate that down a little bit, and I think the people will be happy to see
and
that.
people are gonna be very happy with that, and I'm glad that was brought to the legal counsel
Mhm.
to go over with it, because that was been a thorn
Yeah.
for a long time.
The
And
last
I-
two,
and
last
I-
2 years I've been up there. A
Yeah.
lot, you hear that from.
You need
Oh, yeah.
a rag for your forehead,
Yeah.
a glass of water.
It's a lot.
And I
So,
think
yeah,
it's-
so
It's
Uh,
important, I think, for us to point out if a voter has an objection to one specific
Mhm.
beneficiary from that nonprofit's appropriation, they're welcome to offer an amendment to remove that nonprofit
right, I think what they
From-
could do, they
from
could
the
either,
warrant article.
yeah, they could either remove it or at least take the dollar amount out for that particular one
Right,
on the floor,
right.
like you said. That would be the
That can
time
be changed
for,
on the floor.
yeah, that would be the time for any
Exactly.
resident or group of residents that have an issue or something to be able to make that
Eliminate.
change. So it does, if anybody, it's a great point, because if anybody in the public says, well,
Yeah.
now I can't do anything about this one that I don't support, but I don't want to vote against, say, the Red Cross. Well, the answer to that is exactly what Mr. Shea just pointed out, is that
That's
be
fine.
heard right at the deli- at
I'm
the-
sure gonna miss those 350 warrant articles.
Yep. Okay,
Based on the 3 people that were at deliberative.
I
session.
know.
yeah,
You'd think
Okay.
more people would be.
thank you. And selectmen reports, Mr. Shea.
Our hazardous waste program continues to roll along in high gear and is working very well. The budget committee has not started meeting as yet. But based on this evening's meeting, I'm sure it'll be as lively as ever.
Sure.
Didn't have a awesome turnout for the first ZAC committee meeting. I just think there was a scheduling issue there, but went well. We still went over all the information for there, learning a lot in there. Planning board is quite the buzz. There's some big stuff coming up from them. We'll see how that goes. And then Alton Hold'em Week Committee, I haven't met with them since the last time I talked to you guys, so just waiting on next week for them.
And we have a CIP meeting the 2nd of August, and they'll be the first one for that one, and excited. Get ready. All right, started on that. Very good.
There has been a couple of milfoil meetings. Obviously, I had my hip replaced, so I wasn't at the meetings, but I know they're starting to work on some things. I've been reading the minutes and they've got some things in the works that they're working on, so the next meetings, I'll catch up on that. And I know you've got some things that you want to say, so I'll let you say it and
As far as the selectmen reports, the one thing I just gotta say, I'm totally flabbergasted at how great this town responded to this last storm that we had. I'm just beside myself. I can't believe how quickly this town pulled together. All our departments worked around the clock. Our public works department, our water department, all the departments that were involved with the road repairs. I just can't imagine how quickly, and I can't stress enough how happy I am to see what they were able to achieve in a short period of time in our fire department, along with them and everyone working together as a single unit, a town hall, all the other departments, and the support and the help that we got from the other towns. I think everything went really well, and I'm just very, very proud of this town for how they responded to this rainstorm that came in. And just want to thank everybody.
Make sure you mention residents were bringing out
Yeah,
their
the
machines.
residents-
Residents were bringing out their
Yes,
personal
exactly. They
machines.
were.
They didn't care, just cleaning roads.
that came out and volunteered their time
That's right.
and were standing out there doing, I mean, there was people coming out of the woodwork to help the town get put back together and
Just
like
employees.
Exactly,
said,
exactly.
it was a community effort and it was amazing to see.
It certainly was. It was very impressive. And that's what this town is all about.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Nick, you want to add to that or?
No, you said it best.
As
I
well,
said mine
yeah.
earlier. We did
Well
great.
said. Yeah.
All right. Town administrator report.
Believe it or not,
Come on.
I don't have anything.
Stop it. Really?
Stop
it. Wow.
What do we got for him,
I know
Johnny?
you guys would be fat, throwing back on that one, but
Hold on, you just got one thing, right? Just one quick.
Yeah, just one.
No,
thing.
nothing.
Good. You recorded that, right? You got.
Okay, then. Approval of the minutes. June 27th, 2023, public session.
Mr. Shea, you ready to follow right behind me on this thing here?
I'm with you all the way, Governor.
I make a motion, we approve the June 27th, 2023 public session minutes.
We have a second.
Second.
Sorry, I got.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Is there anything from non-public that you guys that you want me to do?
all three of them,
All three?
release them.
So release everything?
Okay, so, yep, second one, June 27th, 2023, non-public session.
I make a motion that we release the records for the June 27th, 2023 non-public session, all three items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And July 11th, 2023, public session.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2023 public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Consent agenda approval.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, a discretionary action on requests of appointments for T. Parker Schumerman, Audubon Society, 83 acre parcel, map 6, lot 6.
He's requesting an appointment with us.
We're just gonna appointment for the described
Yep.
reason. Believe
Back, right?
I believe the nature of that appointment request is there was a parcel of land that was My understanding, just a consensus, I mean, a digested version of the appointment request is there was a parcel of land that was left by an estate by a gentleman. Originally, I believe it went to Lakes Region Conservation Trust.
Mhm.
Or I should say the Audubon Society, but the Audubon Society did not want to keep it. It's going to Lakes Region Conservation Trust. But the nature of the appointment or the request is that they wanted to, there is a tax lien on the property. And when it gets transferred, that tax lien is going to go with it. The issue, I have talked to the assessor and myself, we've looked at it and we've looked through some of the email communication, which you see in
Yep.
this. And one of the emails, there's a law firm that expresses that the estate is already taking care of any outstanding bills and costs, which I think is very strange, because if there's a tax lien on the property, the estate should settle that before it transfers to any other people. Legally, if a person is alive transferring a piece of property, all taxes need to be settled before that transfer takes place.
Right.
So as you can see, there's an email from the assessor in there and his opinion and his recommendation that that the waiver, and I understand that the group does a lot of great things and that it's a conservation group, but the issue I think goes more towards the estate. At that point, it's a great thing that the gentleman or the estate wants to gift land to a nonprofit for a noble, for something such as conservation. But the issue is those matters should have been settled and probate before it had before it was given.
So what's the recommendation on it?
Recommendation is that it's not granted.
Not-
No,
Not for,
I mean, quite
That'll
frankly,
have to be rectified.
I don't
That
think
will
it
have
should.
to.
until it's rectified.
That's
yeah,
right.
until
That's
it-
right.
no, well, they're looking for it to be waived. The
Yeah,
taxes.
Yeah, no.
And there's a formal tax lien on the property.
Okay.
Well,
So I think my opinion, recommendation, and so does the assessor, is that it's not granted, but also these people should be going back to that law firm
That's
that
right.
stated all those expenses have been paid.
That's right.
So just so I'm understanding this the right way, there's a tax lien. They want us to forgive the tax lien, and now it should have been part of his estate to settle a tax lien before he gifted the property.
That's right.
The tax lien's not
Yeah.
against the nonprofit or Lakes
No, it's
Region
against the
Trust.
gentleman.
Unfortunately, it's the estate.
Yeah.
So before the gentleman passed and the estate thing, he had put out this will and testament, gifting two parcels of land. One has the home and one is a large parcel of conservation land behind it. But when the estate took over, that tax lien was already in effect. It was in effect before all of this had transpired as far as his passing and all that. So
I agree with them.
Okay. Thank you.
Fair enough.
So do we have a motion for this action?
You're just gonna make a motion to allow him to come.
Right, right.
Well,
Just
if-
right,
allow
that's
him
what
to
I'm
come
saying,
talk
to
to
allow
us?
him to come.
Yeah.
Oh, I make a motion that we allow it's the Auburn, the
Audubon Society.
Audubon Society. I make a motion that we allow the Audubon Society in New Hampshire to come meet with us.
We allow him 15 minutes, will you?
Says he only needs 5.
5 minutes.
Yeah, only fine.
We allow them 5 minutes. Right?
But I guess it comes down to the board. I'm sorry, you're making a
No.
motion. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, hold on. Do you want more? Let me hold off
No,
on
it's fine.
mine.
No,
Let's discuss it
I
more.
don't think
That's
we
fine.
should hear him.
You don't think we should
No.
hear him at all?
No.
What, he wants to give us reasons as to why we should abate this.
Yeah, I don't think. we
I don't
should
think,
abate
I
it.
don't think,
Oh,
that- I don't
was-
think we
I'm
should
sorry,
abate it.
that was my fault. I
think
thought
we
it
should-
was,
in
I
my
thought it was
opinion,
the other, I thought it was the,
Yeah, I thought it was.
so I rescind that. I apologize. I
Okay,
thought it was
thank you.
reversed. My bad. I rescind it. I don't think we should hear the meeting.
Yeah, I make a motion that we don't allow him to have a meeting.
I will second that motion. Deny the appointment. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
It was with.
No, denied.
I was
Okay.
confused. It was bad.
And we'll
That's why I
send
asked the
notice back
question.
to the individual, and also point out that language in the email
Yes,
that they should probably follow up with.
yes, definitely. Thank you.
States.
Thank you. Okay, public input. Come on up. State your name.
Walk from way back there.
How you doing? How are you?
This is just to, my name is Dustin Portier,
Mhm.
826 Stockbridge Corner Road. This is just to, address the new drag strip in front of my house, created by the stop sign. I guess just trying to take the right, avenues here to just try to get this addressed, whether or not I have to request a meeting or, have other neighbors come to a meeting, or just trying to, take the right steps here. But it's just been a place for people to test their 0 to 60 capabilities in their vehicles. And it's been quite the nuisance for living next to the stop sign. Waking up at 3:30 in the morning from everybody hot dogging it out of the stop sign and getting back up to the 50 to 60 miles per hour they were probably previously doing. But yeah, as soon as they slow down, they just like to hammer right out of the stop sign. And I just don't feel like the fact that people can't do the speed limit and not crash into each other, that, tax-paying homeowners should have to suffer due to that. So I guess I'd just like to see if maybe we could go back to the drawing board on the stop sign and, just try to figure something else out for that corner there. I don't know if there was something with Eversource moving a telephone pole or some other alternate, some kind of solution there, but I don't really think the second stop sign is a solution. The one coming out of Stockbridge was already there existing. There was a yield sign. But the other stop sign is really just a nuisance and a cause for noise pollution for everyone around it.
Okay.
And typically they're, don't work out well being used to slow people down. But yeah, that's more or less
Okay.
my thing. I don't know if I have to ask to come back for another meeting or because I have plenty of videos I'd love to have you listen to sometime, just so that you can totally understand my frustration. Because I think you really need to hear that to understand the stop and go, the consistent acceleration that just echoes, right where my head is laying.
Right.
So the first guy coming through there at say 3:30 in the morning with a loud exhaust hammering out of the stop sign. That's how I've been getting woken up every morning since the stop sign showed up.
All right. Well, we thank you for your time and for your input and
Yeah, for us to address it, Dustin, you would have to request a meeting.
Yeah.
I guess that's
just
Yeah.
why I'm here.
to fill out the form.
Yeah, you have to just see Ryan, fill out the form and request a meeting.
You can get a formal appointment, like DES had this, were you here for the first part of the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, like DES had,
They-
you get a formal appointment and
They did a representation of what they were doing, everything, if you do that.
Okay. So just
Okay.
come to the town hall.
Yep.
Business hours and get one.
Yes.
actually they're online. They're read online on the town website.
Yeah.
But the other thing, if I may, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
that's fine.
My recommendation too would be to speak to some of your neighbors as well. Just because the board is getting
Mhm.
mixed feedback.
Yeah.
Some are in support of it, some are not. And of course, one of the main issues, not to get into a long conversation about it right now. I know that that's not quite the forum for it, but
Mhm.
so I formally sent a letter on letterhead from the Board of Selectmen to Eversource to get that pole moved.
Right.
And we have not heard anything
Never
about it
heard
because
that.
unfortunately they're gonna have to move the lines. And
The
I
other-
don't think they're real excited about moving the lines, but that was the original approach that the Public Works Director and
Yeah.
us had talked about, but unfortunately the pole is what is killing the line of sight right there.
So yeah, you mentioned earlier that usually you ask the public for their input as far as rumble strips.
Mhm.
Things like that. You guys don't do that stuff for stop signs?
No, that's
That's state.
yeah, that
That was
was
state.
a informational meeting with the state. The state has to do that.
Town road, right?
What's that?
It's a town road though.
No,
Not where the rumble strips are. No,
Strip
that
was
was
state
state
road.
roads.
on 28.
Do they have to do a speed study or a traffic study to do something like that? Stop signs?
I would think so. And not in all cases, but
Well, no, but if
But-
I recall correctly, we had a whole room full of people here standing
Yeah.
here telling us that they wanted us to do something about it.
So the best thing is that, like, Mr. Ryan said, once you get some information from some of your neighbors and talk with some of your neighbors and then, make an appointment
Yep,
and come in and we'll be here there.
okay.
And I'll actually make it a point to go sit out there and
I-
see what you're.
Well, I didn't know if I was allowed to bring that up. So I had spoke with Dustin. So I did sit out there and I did listen to some of his concerns. And he does have a couple valid concerns. It seems it looked to me like the way that they had done the actual lines for the roadway, if you guys know
I've
that
been out
intersection
there.
very well.
Yep.
So if you're coming from Stockbridge, Alton, 28 side, and you're coming down, the way that you look at the intersection, it looks like the line comes up and goes over, right, onto Stockbridge Corner Road. The biggest problem is people are coming flying down Stockbridge Corner Road, not realizing what they're doing, whether they're going left or right. People at the stop sign are starting to go forward, regardless or not. They're thinking the people are going right when really they're going left.
Mhm.
There was, I mean, I heard it a couple times. They did really lay on their cars super hard through there,
Mhm.
like coming out of that stop sign. So it's something when he does have the appointment, I think there's going to be a showing. Cause I mean, obviously understandable, I spoke with him and I explained, look, this is trial and error. We got to figure this out, the
course,
right way to
of
do
course.
this, whether we switch around a yield sign or whether we switch around a stop sign or something like that. I just explained to him, it's trial by error. We're just trying to figure out what's the best way for all this traffic to mesh well with as minimal accidents as possible.
Right.
We've been listening.
Oh, because if not.
But he does have, he does have.
No, we've been listening to the people.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Coming in. And so if you get some more names and know more people to come with you and get some more information of what's happening.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Then make your appointment.
yeah, a formal appointment will allow
We'll be able to
everybody-
address it.
Yeah,
neighbors to speak to and then a back and forth discussion.
yeah.
Fortunately, public input has a limit on
Yeah,
time.
it's a 5-minute input.
Yeah, I
so-
wasn't gonna rally up the neighbors to come sit through the meeting for 5 minutes.
No, no,
I'll
I
try
got
to
you.
do
And that's why it'd be good. You can come at the beginning of the meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
guys.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
You don't understand.
See you later.
No, you have to stay.
Hello.
How you doing?
Doing well.
State your name, please.
I will. I know the routine. Done this a few times.
I
My
know.
name is Krista Argyropoulos. I'm at 114 Frank C. Gilman Highway. You might know it as Route 140. My husband and I bought our home on Route 140 22 years ago. We've raised a family in that house and it's not big or fancy, but it's all we've got. We're proud of our family, our house and our town. On July 16th, we were faced with a flood. We had almost over 3 feet of water in our basement. It's unlike anything we've seen in 22 years in the house. We called 911. Alton Fire Department responded, helped us out. My husband and 2 sons were home at the time. I was taking care of my brother who's dying of cancer. We lost almost everything. We lost our year-old furnace. We just replaced the previous year. Everything that was in our basement, the floor of our sunroom, everything that was there, we've thrown out 9 trips to the dump. We're in a place where we can't park on the cement pad in our driveway because it's so eroded underneath that it's not safe to park on. We've just discovered a couple nights ago that we have a hole in our foundation now. We're just beginning to find out what the damages are a week and a day later because of the time it's taken to dry things out, get it cleaned up, figure out what the damages are and where we're at. Of course, we're not covered by homeowners insurance because we don't live in a FEMA flood zone. We live on a hill. There's a brook that feeds Merry Meeting that runs 2 portions of our little quarter of an acre, third of an acre, whatever we've got of property. We're very grateful to the first responders who went above and beyond, and also our generous neighbors, people who loaned us sump pumps, anything they could.
Mhm.
We never needed one before. We got so much rain so fast, we didn't know what to do. Our home can be seen in the background of interviews on WMUR, on national photos on national papers. We have neighbors also who have sustained damages like we have. One had 6 inches of water on her kitchen floor, lost a lot of her work materials. She's a small business owner. Another one lost the front part of her driveway. She's on disability, I believe, and is retired. All of us have been significantly impacted, and I have the best neighbors. There's people to the left, right, across the street from me, behind me. We all get along. We all help each other out. But we're all left to foot the bill. I don't know what Alton is doing to get help with this. I don't know what's available. I've reached out to state and local government. I've left voicemails. I've sent emails. I've had no response. I'm here tonight to ask you to consider, earlier tonight you were just talking about raising taxes, and well, $150 more a year on a house assessed at $700,000 might not seem like much. Right now, I have no savings left. We've wiped out everything to take care of this. I have 2 students in my house, 2 full-time students myself, and my son who's in grad school. I work full-time. My husband works full-time. We're doing the best we can. But again, we're not alone. We're one of the lucky ones because of what we have. I consider us privileged. But I'm asking you to consider people like us who are hurting right now. Having the word only used before any kind of increase right now is a little chilling. What has the Board of Selectmen done? Have you guys met to have any kind of discussion about how citizens like me, citizens like my neighbors, how we've been impacted? And again, I know we're not the only ones. I don't know if anybody else has spoken up or spoken out. I used to be very involved in town government, not so much these days. I've moved on to do other things. But I respect the position you're in, and I know you guys are between a rock and a hard place. And from what I can tell tonight, you're all doing your best. But I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me tonight, to consider our situation. And, a week and a day later, we have a long way to go to rebuild and repair. And I'm asking for myself and for others, how can you help? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I make a motion to enter into the non-public meeting per RSA 91-A:3, under A.
Second that. Oh, roll call.
Yes.
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 Yes.